YouTube, this is James LaFleur with the Impossible channel. We're going to be talking about HARP right now. I know some of you don't know what HARP is, so here's a quick explanation. It's really simple. They installed a bunch of antennas on a lot of places around the world, and these antennas, in some way, using microwave and whatnot, control the weather. Now, I know that you've been noticing weird cloud formations since the 2000s, and well, if I'm not mistaken, the encyclopedia even added some new cloud formations to it last year, as if this was some sort of natural event, but it isn't. These are not natural phenomena, folks. This is HARP, and it's being caused by humans, and in no way this is being caused by nature itself. Well, some of our subscribers were very kind enough to send us pictures and videos of what they believe to be HARP in action. So on this radar picture here, we have a storm happening, and out of this storm, a perfect line forming out of it. Like sucking the storm. Right? Sucking a little bit of the storm so it lightens up the storm so it's not a heavy storm, right? And we have videos all over the world that show the same thing happening, right? So they are using HARP to change the storm's locations and actually drain the storms if necessary, or feed storms if necessary. So we got a bunch of photos from different places like Germany and Australia that show us a very distinct kind of cloud that really looks like HARP. It's a perfect line, and just as shown in the radar picture, we can see this is just, well, this matches, right? It's a perfect line, just like a microwave, and we got so many pictures of that. It's astonishing. The antennas throw some special sort of microwaves and whatnot, and mixed in, I understand, with the chemtrails, they produce or don't produce storms, right? So this is what's causing droughts all over, and this is what's causing massive storms. They are literally moving the masses in the sky, right? The clouds and the storms. So right now we gotta stay awake. I think it's very important for us to share this because this is how it's happening, and this is how you are going to identify it. But don't be fooled. If they're chemtrailing your sky, it's because they're going to be harping it very soon. So keep an eye open, take pictures, and time-lapse your sky. You are going to see some sort of line forming up in the sky. Sometimes it's not as thick as the video I've shown you right now. Sometimes it's just a wavy pattern, but it's HARP. And this is how they are sucking, or in other words, draining storms and creating storms. Stick around for more. We have a lot of videos. Don't forget to watch. We have 600 videos. And don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you again.
Hey everybody, Steve Wilson, WSO. June 22nd, 2017, bringing you the latest and greatest in observations of the Wormwood System, or what we're calling the Wormwood System. But here's an interesting time-lapse photography from St. Petersburg, Florida today, given to me by my good friend Jeff. And what we noticed were these very strange columns of light out over the water as you look out over the Gulf. And then watch what happens as the light comes, a dark ring also appears in that same area. See? Very interesting observation, and thank you for sharing it. This is, oh, by the way, I think I can move this up a little bit so you can see the time. Not sure that would have been visible with the naked eye, and I guess could be some type of refraction, but what's really interesting is the corroboration between that and that other thing there. A lot of people are talking about that, if we were close to some kind of another planetary body or, thing like that, that the Earth would be in turmoil, And I've heard that a lot. And I've studied this subject now, in depth now for the last, I don't know, 3 years. I've talked to and interviewed the most renowned experts on the subject. I have talked to the most credible witnesses and investigators of the subject. And one of the big objections that come up from the chills is the rules of planetary motion are not being considered with all of the things that are going on, and that if these planets were indeed, within, whatever number of AUs from the Earth, that the gravitational forces, etc., would be so great that it would just be ripping the Earth apart. Well, I've heard that also. I heard that from a guy named John Moore when I was interviewing him. And he always told me, he always said, look, first of all, date setting is ridiculous. It's it's already happening. It's just increasing in volume over time. And this is the last 30 days of earthquakes all over the world. And as you can see, the other thing that, John kind of led us on to was to say that we would see earthquakes in places that we don't normally see them. And so I would put out the first, counter to the objection is that, yes, I do believe we are being affected by interplanetary forces with the changes of the other planets around us, including their luminosity. I think that it's suffice to say that we are seeing some pretty interesting changes. The other thing we talk about all the time is weather. And as weather gets weirder, as we have seen on the southeast coast, the first time I've ever seen this type of weather, and a lot of people that watch the weather say the same thing, this just ungodly amount of water that just perpetrated itself upon this whole area here, and it's causing major flooding and problems. Is that because there is some type of a planetary body close by that we're documenting on other cameras and that we've been told about for years and years by investigators who have been trying to find it? Or have been trying to nail down why the government is spending trillions of dollars. Just because we don't know if it's a brown dwarf or a planet or what this is, but we're getting plenty of documentation now of an orb on the horizon in different parts of the Earth, where we also see the reflection here, like you see here in the water, from this, what we're calling the honeycam now. This is from my good friend down in Illinois, and, Ray, thank you. And anyway, what I'm trying to say is, we're seeing the weather changes, we're seeing the earth changes, we're seeing the volcanism, we're seeing the stuff in the skies, and why am I trying to share all this with you? Because I don't want people to be ignorant sheep. I want people to understand what's going on around them. I don't want them to be stupid. And that's what WSO's mission is to say, look, you can be intellectual and, and still believe that things are going on that the government's not telling us about. The second interesting feature about this series, look at that hopping little circle up here, up in the upper left. Isn't that interesting? It's all kinds of weird stuff. I guess it could be a bug over the course of a couple hours. And then we got a couple of these shots from Alaska where you can see this dark, spot up in the sky. And this one from Kiana today. And again, the other thing that we talk about is just the failure of common sense. You don't have to be a super scientist to know what's going on. If you see dark spots in the sky that are orb-shaped, if you look at the legends of the last, 12,000 years of the archaeological record, it doesn't take a lot of common sense to kind of put the edges together and say that, we might be facing some things that are, unusual or whatever. But when it comes down to it, and I go back to and I look at what we were seeing here in St. Petersburg, is this where the human race is trying to fight back? Are we trying to actually repulse this thing? Are we trying to actually push it back somehow? And are we fighting a battle with indeed an alien force, but that alien force is planetary forces? I don't know. And it's worth discussion and it's worth dialogue. But at the end of the day, I just want you all to know that, it's important that you know that there is a huge universe out there, and there is a loving creator God in that universe that wants you in the family. And make your peace with God, Make your peace with yourself, and I hope you have a great day. Love you, man. This is Steve Olson, WSO. Bye-bye.
Hey YouTube, this event, but it isn't. These are not natural phenomena, folks. This is HAARP, and it's being caused by humans, and in no way this is being caused by nature itself. Well, some of our subscribers were very kind, and this is James LaFleur with the Impossible channel. We're going to be talking about HAARP right now. I know some of you don't know what HAARP is, so here's a quick explanation. It's really simple. They installed a bunch of antennas on a lot of places around the world, and these antennas in some way using microwave enough to send us pictures and videos of what they believe to be HAARP in action. So on this radar picture here, we have a storm happening, and out of this storm, even whatnots control the weather. Now, I know that you've been noticing weird cloud formations since the 2000s, and well, if I'm not mistaken, the encyclopedia even added some new cloud formations to it last year, as if this was some sort of natural